Okay, here's a thought. What if when you receive a medical treatment is just as crucial as what that treatment actually is?
Hmm.
It sounds almost, well, too simple, maybe, too wild to be true.
It does seem counterintuitive
Well,
sometimes.
sometimes these seemingly small details, they can unlock just massive impacts on health outcomes.
Absolutely.
And today we're going to take a deep dive into some really remarkable new research. You've shared some great stuff with us, articles, papers, your notes, and it all seems to point towards a potentially groundbreaking finding in cancer treatment.
That's right. And our mission today is really to uh, extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from all this. We're going to be exploring the first ever randomized controlled phase 3 trial.
The first one?
The very first, yeah. Looking specifically at the time of day for administering immunochemotherapy. This is in non-small cell lung cancer patients, NSCLC.
Okay.
And honestly, the results, they could
Yeah.
genuinely reframe how we approach medicine going forward.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Immunotherapy, it's already a huge deal in cancer treatment, right? A
Yeah.
powerful tool.
Definitely. A game changer in many ways.
But this research is suggesting a whole new variable, the clock. You mentioned there'd been whispers before, hints in older data.
Exactly. For years, retrospective studies.
Hmm.
So looking back at past data across different cancer types, they hinted that these drugs, immune checkpoint inhibitors, or ICIs,
Mm-hmm.
they might just work better when they're infused earlier in the day. But,
Mhm.
these were just observation correlations maybe?
Wait, not proof.
Not proof, no. So
Yeah.
this new trial, this is work by Yang-Chang Zhang and colleagues. It was presented as ASCO Abstract 8516.
Mhm.
It was specifically designed to test that hypothesis rigorously
Yeah.
using a randomized controlled approach, really moving beyond those hints to get, hopefully, definitive evidence.
Right, this is where the rubber meets the road then. So if those hints were there, how did they actually set this up? How did Zhang and his team design a study to really test this time of day idea properly? What did the trial actually look like?
Well, it was a phase 3 trial, so a large late-stage study. They enrolled 210 patients.
Okay.
All had previously untreated stage II or SIV non-small cell lung cancer. And importantly, these were patients without what we call driver mutations.
Ah, okay. So specific genetic changes weren't the main factor here.
Correct. Those often lead to different targeted therapies.
Right.
So these patients received first-line treatment, which was immunochemotherapy, either pembrolizumab or sintilimab, those are the ICIs,
Right.
combined with standard chemotherapy. Now, the key part, the really pivotal design element, was the randomization.
How did they split them up?
Simple, really, a 1-to-1 ratio. Patients were assigned to get their first 4 cycles of treatment either before 3 p.m.,
15 more.
exactly, 15.0, that was the early time of day, or early TOD group, or they got it after 3.01 p.m., 15.01, the late TOD group,
So a clear cutoff time.
a very clear cutoff. And the researchers hypothesized, basically, that the early group would see a significant improvement in progression-free survival, or PFS.
Got it. And this trial has a registration number.
It does, yeah. It's registered as NCT 05549037, and it was sponsored by the National Natural Science Foundation of China.
All right, so the setup seems robust. Randomization, clear groups, specific patient population. Then came the moment of truth, looking at the actual patient data. What did the numbers show? Did timing matter?
Oh, it mattered.
Yeah.
The results were, frankly, incredibly compelling, even after a median follow-up of about 19 months, 18.9 months.
Okay.
Let's look at the key endpoints. Progression-free survival, PFS. That's how long patients live without their cancer getting worse.
Right, a standard measure.
A very standard one. In the early TODI group, the median PFS was 13.2 months.
13.2.
Okay, and the late group.
6.5 months.
Wow, that's almost double.
Nearly double. The hazard ratio was 0.43, and the p-value 0.0001.
Okay, I'll unpack that hazard ratio and p-value a bit. What does 0.43 really mean here?
So a hazard ratio below 1 means a reduced risk. 0.43 means the patients in the early group had roughly a 57% lower risk of their cancer progressing or dying compared to the late group at any given time point. More than half the risk reduced.
Exactly. And that p-value, 0.0001, it's extremely low. It essentially
Right.
tells us there's an incredibly tiny chance, like 1 in 10,000, that this difference happened purely by accident.
So statistically very robust, not a fluke.
Highly robust.
Right.
Not a fluke at all.
That is genuinely stunning. I mean, like you said, in oncology, we often celebrate gains measured in weeks, maybe a few months.
Precisely.
Getting almost double the PFS from just changing the time of infusion.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that makes you rethink things, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It fundamentally challenges how we've maybe approached optimizing treatment. We spend so much effort, billions of dollars, trying to find new molecules for sometimes just incremental gains.
Right.
And here, a simple scheduling tweak seems to yield this just massive outcome. It really suggests we might have been overlooking a fundamental dimension of the body's own rhythms.
A circadian rhythm aspect.
Exactly. The effect size here, it's potentially paradigm shifting. And it wasn't just PFS. Overall survival, OS, how long patients lived in total.
The ultimate endpoint. The ultimate endpoint. In the early TOTI group, the median OS wasn't even reached yet.
Meaning more than half were still alive at the analysis point.
Correct, which is obviously a very good sign.
Yeah.
In the late TOTI group, the median OS was 17.8 months.
Still a big difference shaping up there.
A big difference. And again, that hazard ratio was 0.43, p-value 0.0000. So a similarly substantial reduction in the risk of earlier death for the early group. Highly significant again.
Okay, PFS doubled, OS looking dramatically better. What about tumor shrinkage, the response rate?
Good question. Objective response rate, ORR. That also favored the early group significantly. It was 75.2% for early TOTI.
3/4 responding.
Yep. Compared to 56.2% in the late TOTI group. Again, statistically significant PP equaled 0.0007. So across all the major efficacy measures, PFS, OS, ORR, the early timing came out clearly ahead.
Those numbers are just remarkable. And the consistency you mentioned earlier across different types of patients, was this benefit seen pretty much across the board?
It really was.
Yeah.
That's another major strength here. The benefits of early 2D dosing for PFS, OS, and ORR, they were consistently observed across all the subgroups they looked at.
Like what kind of subgroups?
So regardless of the patient's age, their sex, their performance status, which is, a measure of their general fitness.
Right. How well they are overall.
Exactly. Also tumor stage, the histology, like the specific type of lung cancer cell under the microscope, PD-L1 status. That's a key biomarker for immunotherapy response.
Uh-huh.
Or even which specific ICI drug they got, pembrolizumab or sintilimab, didn't matter. The early group consistently did better.
That broad applicability is incredibly powerful, isn't it? It suggests this isn't some niche effect for only certain patients.
Precisely. It makes the finding much more potentially impactful in general clinical practice.
This really does feel like a breakthrough moment. You stressed earlier this is the first trial of its kind. Can you elaborate on what really sets this study apart? Why does this trial carry so much weight compared to those earlier hints?
Yeah, it's crucial. This is the first prospective Phase 3 randomized controlled trial to investigate this specific hypothesis.
Okay. Prospective meaning they planned it in advance. Randomized meaning chance decided who got early versus late.
Correct. Not just looking back at old records, which is what retrospective means. Those retrospective studies, they can generate hypotheses, find correlations, but they're prone to biases. They can't prove cause and effect.
Gotcha.
This trial's design perspective, randomized, Phase 3, that's considered the gold standard for clinical evidence. That robust methodology, combined with the really clear outcomes and the strong statistical significance, that's what gives these findings immense weight.
And the size of the effect, too, right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
As we keep saying, that nearly doubling of PFS and OS, it's an effect size far greater than what we typically see with new drugs or combinations in oncology, where improvements are often, weeks or maybe a few months.
So it's significant both statistically and clinically.
Hugely significant clinically. And think about the intervention itself. It's simple. It's implementable. You don't need a fancy new drug or technology.
Change the appointment time.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
It could potentially be integrated into clinical practice relatively easily, at least from a logistical standpoint. And that's why it's raising this really fundamental, paradigm-shifting clinical question. Should treatment timing now be considered a new, crucial axis for optimizing cancer therapy?
It's huge. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Have we been missing similar timing effects in other areas of medicine just because we haven't specifically looked for them in this way?
It's a very real possibility. Our bodies run on internal clocks. Circadian rhythms influence so much of our biology.
Immune function, drug metabolism.
All of that, yes. So maybe we haven't fully leveraged that knowledge in treatment scheduling.
Okay, but like with any really groundbreaking research, especially the first big trial like this, there are always caveats, right? Things we still need to figure out. What are some of the limitations here or the areas where we definitely need more research?
Absolutely. Critical appraisal is key. While the findings are incredibly exciting, we do need to consider the limitations. One major point is that all patients in this specific cohort were enrolled in China.
Okay. So generalizability.
Exactly. We need to know if these results hold true in more diverse global populations. different ethnicities, different healthcare systems perhaps. That needs confirmation through multinational trials.
Makes sense. What else?
The follow-up time for overall survival in the early group. As we noted, the median OS wasn't reached. That's good news for the patients,
Right.
but it means the data is still maturing. We need longer-term follow-up to confirm that the OS benefit is sustained over time.
Okay. Anything about the trial design itself?
Well, it was an unblinded study, meaning both the patients and the researchers knew who was getting early versus late treatment.
Which is kind of hard to avoid when the intervention is time of day, I guess.
It's inherently challenging, yes.
Yeah.
You can't really give someone a placebo time slot, but unblinded designs can sometimes introduce bias, so it's something to be aware of.
Right.
Also, remember the patient population. This was specifically PD-L1 negative or low non-driver mutation NSCLC. So we can't automatically assume these results apply to other types of lung cancer, like those with high PD-L1 expression or specific driver mutations.
Good point. Specificity matters.
And maybe most crucially, while this trial brilliantly confirms the clinical effect, that timing matters, it wasn't designed to and didn't directly study the underlying biological mechanisms, the why.
So the what is clear earlier is better here, but the how or the why is still a bit of a puzzle. Why wasn't figuring out the why part of this trial design?
That's typical for phase 3 trials, actually. Their main goal is to definitively test clinical efficacy and safety in a large group. Does it work? Is it safe? Answering that is already a huge undertaking.
Okay.
Investigating the deep biological mechanisms, the how that often comes before in earlier phase studies or follows after, in dedicated mechanistic studies once the clinical effect is established.
So where do researchers go from here then? To solve that why puzzle and build on these really striking findings?
Yeah, the future research agenda is pretty clear now. First, we absolutely need those mechanistic studies.
To understand the biology.
Exactly. To investigate how circadian biology, our internal clock, actually modulates the immune system's response to cancer and the pharmacodynamics of these ICI drugs, basically, how the body processes the drug and how the drug affects the body at different times of day.
Makes sense.
What else? We definitely need those multinational trials we talked about to validate these findings across diverse populations and healthcare settings, confirm it's a global phenomenon,
Right. Build confidence.
and biomarker discovery. Can we find specific markers that identify which patients are likely to benefit most from early dosing? Or perhaps, are there patients for whom timing doesn't matter as much? That can help personalize this approach.
Tailoring it further.
Precisely. And then, of course, expanding the research. What about other cancer types where immunotherapy is used? Melanoma, kidney cancer, colorectal cancer. Does timing matter there too? That needs investigation.
Lots of potential avenues.
Lots. And finally, as we mentioned, just getting that longer-term overall survival data and also looking at quality of life data from the original trial and future ones, that's essential to fully grasp the real-world impact and relevance for patients.
Wow. Okay, this deep dive has really uncovered something quite remarkable, I think. This idea that the timing of a treatment could have such a profound impact, nearly doubling progression-free survival and potentially overall survival in this group of lung cancer patients, is just astounding.
It really is.
It feels like discovering, I don't know, a fundamental principle we somehow overlooked, like trying to design a better airplane engine without fully understanding aerodynamics, and suddenly someone figures out wing shape is critical.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This research truly opens up a whole new frontier, potentially, in how we optimize patient care. It's urging us really to consider circadian rhythms not just as some interesting biological curiosity, but as a potentially powerful, maybe often overlooked variable in medicine. It's a stark reminder that our bodies are these incredibly intricate biological clocks, and understanding those rhythms, working with them, could be a key to unlocking significantly better health outcomes.
A simple clock on the wall potentially being as important as the complex drug in the IV bag.
In this context, it appears so. It also shows that sometimes the biggest breakthroughs don't necessarily come from discovering something entirely new, but maybe from re-examining how we use the tools we already have, just more intelligently.
So as you listen and go about your day today, maybe this sparks a different line of thinking for you too. What other aspects of medical treatment, or even just parts of your daily life, sleep, eating, exercise, might be influenced by your internal clock in ways we're only just starting to grasp?
Definitely something to ponder as you reflect on this fascinating new knowledge.